Hi everyone. I've still got this flu or cold thing. I don't know what it is. But it's really hot and stuffy in my house, so I do have the fan on high. If you don't like to hear a fan, please go to another video. This is from Housewives After Hours. The only way I've ever liked Kim K, I'm sorry, Kim Zolciak. I liked her song Tardy for the Party. I didn't like what she did to Candy for it. Okay, this video claims she's over $1 million in debt. And what I'd like to know is, are any of us really surprised? We saw when she was on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, she would just spend because of that boyfriend of hers who was married, big something. And of course, her two daughters that were on the show with her, especially one of them, I think her name is Brielle, the eldest one, turned out to be just like her mother, getting a bunch of plastic surgery, spending up the wazoo. And I don't know, do any of them really have jobs? When she was going out with Troy on the show, I was like, she's going to make him go bankrupt. Whatever money he has, she's just going to keep spending. She claims she's only 29 years old. She didn't look it. She looks it now, but that's because of a whole crap load of plastic surgery. And we have seen over the years Troy begging her to stop spending money. She doesn't want to listen. She likes the superstar glamour doll lifestyle, but she doesn't have the money to back it up. Now, he was retired from football when they met, so he had a pretty nice sized nest egg. Her and the kids blew through it. I'm not saying he didn't blow through it because I'm sure he spent money. Sorry, that he spent money too. But when you get to the point you're about to lose your home, your cars, your this, your that, that's when she decides she wants to divorce him. She's like the female version of Todd Tucker, Candy Burris' husband. Except she wasn't making restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. She was just spending money. There are allegations of abuse from both of them. From what I've seen, I can understand Troy because he had millions and millions of dollars that could have lasted all of them the rest of their lives. But you can't with someone like Kim and her daughters and her teaching her other kids spend. Just doesn't work. So I can see Troy getting pissed off because where's his nest egg? But let's get to the video and see what they have to say.
Today, we're talking about Kim and Croy Biermann's nightmare split that's been dragging on for over 2 years now. This isn't just your typical celebrity breakup. This is a full blown war involving millions in debt, shocking accusations of abuse and addiction, police being called multiple times, and now Kim's been dragged into someone else's $100 million divorce battle. If you think you've heard messy divorce stories before, trust me, this one takes the cake. So grab your popcorn because we're about to break down everything from the beginning to the latest bombshells that dropped just weeks ago. Let's start with the money problems because that's really where this whole mess began to unravel. Back in 2012, Kim and Croy bought their dream home in Georgia. It was massive, over 15,000 square feet with 7 bedrooms and 11 bathrooms. They paid $880,000 for it. Sounds like a steal for a house that size, right? Well, that house would eventually become the symbol of their complete financial collapse. Here's where things get complicated. In 2013, just a year after buying the house, Kim and Croy took out a $300,000 home equity line of credit from Landmark Community Bank. Basically, they borrowed money against the value of their home. The deal was they'd start paying it back in December 2016. But December 2016 came and went, and they couldn't make the payments. So they got an extension until December 2017. Still couldn't pay. By January 2018, they had to sign another agreement saying they owed over $270,000 and promising to pay about $1,100 every month until 2038. That's a 20-year payment plan, but even with these promises, they stopped paying in October 2022. The bank finally had enough and terminated the loan in May 2023, right when Kim first filed for divorce. But wait, it gets worse. This wasn't the only loan they were drowning in. They also had a massive $1.65 million loan they took out in October 2012, right after buying the house. By February 2023, they were so behind on payments that their house went into foreclosure. The bank literally scheduled an auction to sell their home in March. Kim tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, and somehow they managed to cancel the auction at the last minute. Probably scraped together enough cash to cover the missed payments. And if that wasn't enough financial pressure, records showed they owed over $1.1 million to the IRS for unpaid taxes from 2013, 2017, and 2018.
Sorry. Now we know from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Kim's boyfriend was paying for everything she had. She didn't have a job, she didn't have nothing. When she started working with Kandi, she screwed Kandi over. So you can see a pattern with her. She doesn't pay for bills. I have never heard once Troy had those problems before being with her. So you see, that's why I say I think it's more her than him. But even paying $1,100 a month, they couldn't do. But she was still getting plastic surgery. She was still getting wigs. She was still getting whatever else she was getting, purses and whatever, and paying for her kids to get the stuff too. And then, right when they couldn't pay for anything, she files for divorce. She's a gold digging hoe. And there's no more gold to dig for. So now she wants a divorce, and she probably wants him to pay a crap load in alimony and child support. But she spent all the money. She knows there's nothing left. And Troy could honestly go to prison if he can't make those child support payments. And while he's in prison, that money's just going to keep piling up too. So when he gets out of prison, instead of being retired and whatever, he's got to figure out how to work. He's an ex football player. And with all the stuff, Kim has actually brought him down. So how's he supposed to get a job? Work at McDonald's? If he got a job working at McDonald's, fans would harass him, Kim would harass him, the kids would harass him at the mother's behest. She ruined this man's life.
Plus another $15,000 to the state of Georgia. We're talking about nearly $2 million in total debt between the loans and the taxes. Think about that for a second. They're living in this giant mansion, trying to keep up appearances, but behind the scenes, they can't even pay their bills. The stress of all this debt is clearly tearing their marriage apart. And that's exactly when the divorce filing started. On May 8, 2023, Kim decided enough was enough and filed for divorce. She claimed the marriage was broken beyond repair with no hope of fixing things. She listed their separation date as April 30th. In her filing, she asked for primary custody of their 4 kids and wanted Kroy to pay spousal support. She also wanted her maiden name back, which tells you she was done with this marriage. The very next
Okay, she wants spousal support. I get it. When there's a divorce, it's mostly women who want spousal support. I rarely hear guys wanting spousal support unless it's a situation like Candy and Todd. And like with Troy Bierman, Candy's money in all the years she was married to Todd never went up. And they have problems with the IRS and whatever because of Todd's failed businesses and the businesses he started and never completed. And we also remember from watching the show, Candy tried to put a leash on him and say, "Look, you really got to stop and finish one thing you started." You heard his response. Go back and watch the show. He acted like, "Well, you got the money. What's the problem?" But that's the thing. It's her money. And now he's trying to fight the prenup and whatever. I don't think Troy and Kim ever had a prenup. I don't think so. He's going to be in debt for the rest of his life instead of retiring like he's supposed to be because of Kim. And I can't say he's completely blameless. What did he not do his research on her? That she was nothing but a gold digging lying hoe? Then she goes and has 4 kids with him. In this, it says she wants spousal support. You don't think she wants child support too? And she's going to want it to be in the amount to keep her in the lifestyle she's become accustomed to. She's not going to want to have enough that sometimes she might have bologna sandwiches for dinner. Escargot and caviar all the way. But she knows the money's not there. How is he supposed to pay? She doesn't care. She doesn't care about sending her kid's father to jail. And why are there abuse claims on both sides? Money puts a lot of pressure on people. You honestly cannot survive in this world without money. Even if you want to go live in the wilderness, somebody would find you and make it that you'd have to spend money, whether it be for security and whatever. These are stars, and people act so entitled. It's like, give me your autograph. No, I'm sorry, I'm busy. And then, who the fuck do you think you are? Give me your autograph. That's how people act. So they're all gonna have to deal with this, even the kids. Because excuse me, TMZ knows what every single kid looks like, knows every single kid's friend's house, knows every park the kids play in, knows every school or after school program, or if they do karate or piano lessons, they know where all that is. And they will go to the kids in order to get info. Kim thought of none of this. She thought about herself and living the glamorous life. And Troy allowed it because he's, what do they call him nowadays? They call men like him simps. He probably did talk to her behind the scenes, yeah, Kim, you gotta stop, whatever. And she probably felt like, oh, fuck you. Now look what's going on with Todd and Candy. He didn't want the kids going to New York to see her while she's working, but yet he'll still go off and go to the Bahamas and shit for a vacation without the kids because his life is so stressful. Meanwhile, Candy's working. It's all a mess. Everything's a mess everywhere you look.
Day, Croy fired back with his own filing, and this is where it gets nasty. He asked for sole custody, meaning he wanted the kids to live with him full time. Even though they were both still living in the same house at this point, Croy demanded that he get to keep the house and any other properties they bought during the marriage. Then things escalated fast. On May 6th,
Of course, because he can sell those properties, get a smaller property, and it's only 4 kids they're talking about custody because excuse me, Kim's 2 older girls, they're of age, they're not part of this. So you could have 2 boys sharing 1 room. So he'd only need 3 bedrooms, if anything. He could downsize and he could make sure he even has money for medical and dental insurance for these kids. I don't hear her being worried about that. But it makes sense if he takes the properties, he can sell them, and of course, he'll have to give her half, but the other half can go to the kids. She's not going to allow that.
Kim filed paperwork asking the court to make Croy take a drug test. She claimed she'd seen him smoking marijuana and was worried about the kids' safety. She specifically.
Nowadays, marijuana is so legal, people just smoke it in the street like a cigarette. I don't know what the laws are in Georgia, but I have a friend in North Carolina who says one of her neighbors who has kids, excuse me, you just get near the door, their front door, you can smell the pot, and the kids are in the house. You know, so if he is smoking pot, he's trying to calm down and stay calm and focus to do the things he has to do to protect his kids when all she wants to do is spend money and look glamorous. I'm sorry, this is all I'm seeing, and I'm not saying he's an innocent bystander, but he could do that stuff with the property. Maybe that's what he wants to do. But I know that's not what she wants to do.
Asked him not to cut his hair before the test because she wanted them to do a hair follicle screening, which can detect drug use going back months. Croy wasn't about to take that lying down. On May 22nd, he hit back with his own shocking claims. He alleged that Kim had a serious gambling problem and spent so much time gambling online that she couldn't properly take care of their children. He asked the court to order a mental evaluation for her, suggesting she might have depression, anxiety, narcissistic personality disorder, bipolar disorder, or ADHD. He claimed
Now, the narcissistic stuff I can see because she's forever playing with her hair. She wants to look at herself all the time. That's what all the plastic surgery, the makeup, and the wigs are about. You have kids, Kim. Fuck what you look like. I don't care how young you are, and you can go and get another man. And no, no, no. You've got kids to take care of. And I don't want to hear, well, how's she supposed to get another man? She needs to stop getting men. She needs to take care of her kids. Her kids didn't ask to be brought into this world. And they're all underage. She has got to put on her big girl panties and her house coat and start acting like a true mother.
her gambling addiction had devastated their family financially. So now you've got both of them throwing serious accusations at each other. She's saying he's using drugs. He's saying she's got a gambling addiction and mental health issues. Their kids are in the middle of all this, and it's only been about 2 weeks since the divorce was filed. Kim took to social media, as many people do these days, and posted a quote about manipulation and toxic behavior. The message was pretty clear about who she thought was the problem in their relationship. Meanwhile, Croy filed for a guardian to be appointed for the children, claiming Kim was verbally abusive to him in front of the kids and was too distracted by her gambling to pay attention to them.
She was verbally abusive before he even met her. Excuse me, remember Sweetie? Nene was hearing how Kim Zolciak was talking to Sweetie. And she's like, what? Now, Sweetie was fine with it until the money stopped and Kim couldn't pay her anymore. That's when she decided to go after Kim. And I'm not condemning Sweetie at all. We've all stuck our tongues up our asses in order to keep a job, in order to keep a roof over our heads. But again, Kim has a pattern. I have not seen a pattern with Troy or Croy, whatever his name is, before meeting her. Once he met her, it was spend all the money on her, which he was wrong for that. He should have gotten away from her a long time ago. But, pussy rules. Now they got to clean up their acts, which again, I think is mostly her. I'm not saying he's completely innocent, but we've seen what's happened to the marriage with her in control and taking all the money. Let's give him a chance. Give him the kids. Let the courts keep an eye on them. We've seen what she does with money. Let him handle the money. Those kids have got to be taken care of.
Then came the plot twist nobody expected. On July 7th, after just 2 months of this legal battle, Kim and Croy decided to call it off and try to work on their marriage. Just like that, they dismissed the divorce case and attempted a reconciliation. Everyone thought maybe they'd worked things out. The reunion lasted about 6 weeks. On August 24th, 2023, Croy filed for divorce again. This time, he was the one who started it. He said the marriage was broken, asked for full custody, and wanted Kim to pay him child support and alimony. He also wanted exclusive use of their house. But here's where it gets really weird. On September 8th, Kim posted a video of her closet saying she wasn't going anywhere, and that they'd been working on their marriage and living as husband and wife. Then, on September 25th, she filed to dismiss Croy's divorce petition, and her reason was absolutely wild. She claimed they'd been sleeping together multiple times since he filed for divorce, including as recently as September 7th. She argued that if they're having intimate relations, the marriage can't really be broken, right? The court seemed to think differently.
She can go and have sex with another guy. He can go and have sex with another girl. It's sex. Okay? Now they're trying to work it out. That might have been for financial reasons. I mean, why add on the extra expenses of a divorce when you can't take care of the bills you already have? And after 6 weeks, he couldn't take her bullshit anymore. Now, if she is addicted to online gambling and spending thousands or even $1 million on this, there's going to be some kind of trail the courts can find out. But I do believe she's addicted to shopping and looking glamorous, and that takes a lot of money. A lot. And as we've seen, she's not going to age gracefully. She's going to keep getting plastic surgeries, and the prices of the surgeries are going to keep going up and up and up and up and up and up. This is honestly crazy. I say give Croy a chance and see what he does. Because, like I said, we've seen what Kim's done, and they're in a big financial hole. He wasn't in a hole until marrying her, having the kids, and her keep spending, spending, spending.
Because in October 2023, a judge issued an order about how they'd live together in their shared home while going through the divorce. Kim got the basement nanny suite as her private space. Croy got the primary bedroom. They had to share common areas like the kitchen and living room, but neither could enter the other's private space without permission. The order also included rules to protect the kids. They couldn't talk badly about each other in front of the children. They couldn't eavesdrop when the other parent was with the kids. And they couldn't use the children to pass messages back and forth. Basically, the court had to treat them like roommates who couldn't stand each other. On November 11th, they celebrated their 12th wedding anniversary together. But just 1 week later, on November 20th, police were called to their house. Body cam footage shows Croy in the driveway screaming at Kim while she sat in her car. He called her a narcissist, claimed she destroyed their lives, said one day she wants divorce and the next day she doesn't, and accused her of sleeping with other men. In the footage, Kim told police that Croy had been screaming at her for 2 hours like a crazy person. She said she just wanted the divorce to be over, but Croy jumped in front of her car that morning and blocked her from leaving when she tried to go. Croy told the police they had no money, no house, and that she was messing with other men. The whole scene was chaotic and disturbing. Kim ended up leaving for the night while Croy stayed with the kids. In January 2024, Kim went to the police station to file a complaint claiming Croy stole hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of her possessions. She said he took her luxury handbags and jewelry, put them in a safe, and then sold at least some of them for cash.
If he did that, can you blame him? Yeah, I think it is against the law, and he's going to have to deal with that. But as a human being, an actual human being, not a woman of today who believes a guy should pay for her even before going out on one single date. I mean, actual human beings can understand if he did this. What the fuck does she need 100 or 1,000 Birkin bags for? Or whatever fancy schmancy bags. Start selling them. You've got kids to take care of. Let Croy sell his memorabilia if he can. Start selling off those properties. You've got kids to take care of.
Claimed he'd bolted the door to the master bedroom so she couldn't get her stuff back. The police basically told her that since they were married and going through a divorce, this was probably marital property that would need to be sorted out in divorce court, not criminal court. Croy's lawyer denied everything and said the accusations weren't true. Then, in April 2024, police were called again. This time, Kim said Croy took her phone and locked himself in the master bedroom, refusing to give it back. When police tried to mediate, Croy wouldn't even come out of his bedroom and denied having her phone. After this incident, a judge had to create an even more detailed plan for how they'd share their house. They made a schedule for when each of them could use their shared closet. Kim could access it Monday through Friday from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. The rest of the time belonged to Croy. The order specifically said Croy couldn't enter during Kim's designated hours. They also weren't allowed to sell, give away, or trade any disputed marital property. In October 2024, Kim filed paperwork saying Croy was spying on her. She claimed he wasn't following the rules about staying out of her space and that he'd removed all the security cameras she set up to prevent him from coming into her area. According to sources, there were even photos of Croy passed out in her closet after allegedly spying on her. She said he'd taken her personal belongings back in January and never returned them despite promising he would. Finally, in February 2025, they found a buyer for their house. Remember, they'd listed it over a year and a half earlier. They sold it for $2.75 million. That might sound like a lot, but they'd originally listed it for $6 million. They lost over $3 million.
$2 million or whatever is a lot to the average Joe. $2 million would be a lot considering they, according to this video, they owed $1 million for whatever. So that would leave them $1 million to try to start over. When you've got a couple like this, where the wife does not stop spending, $1 million is actually nothing. I just watched a video yesterday where a guy gave his wife $1,000 to put in the bank account, and she told him she needed something that was going to cost $100. He said, okay, well, take it out of the money that's got to go in the bank and then just put the rest in the bank. She felt like $1,000 was nothing and the $900 was going to be like change. So why put it in the bank account? And she spent everything. Why? So yeah, to me, Kim is the biggest problem in this relationship, money wise, because she will not stop spending. She just won't.
From their asking price. And considering all the debt they owed, this sale probably barely covered what they needed to pay back to the banks and the IRS. The next day after the sale, Kim filed asking the court to have Croy evaluated for CTE, which stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's a brain disease that many NFL players develop from repeated head injuries during their careers. She claimed that Croy, who played in the NFL for 8 years, would have profanity-filled outbursts about her in front of their kids. She accused him of being physically.
What is she doing? She's just spending, spending, spending. Where's my phone? Let me see if I can find this out. What was Croy Bierman's net worth before marriage? Okay, it says here 900,000. It just went away. $900,000 annually. I'm looking for an actual big number. because it's saying right now he only makes about 300,000. They're saying something about around 14 million. So because of her, he now has nothing. And they're in so much debt, and they have four underage kids. Yep. She took him down, and now she wants somebody new who's rich.
Violent and having extreme sexual promiscuity issues. Kim pointed to a Boston University study showing that over 90% of former NFL players in the study had CTE. She argued that based on these statistics, it was likely Croy had it too, and the court should check. She also said he was controlling the kid.
And if he did or does, there's no money for treatment or to even help him because of how much they spent. And he spent it too. He was willing to make her happy. But she has no self control where this is concerned.
Phones to prevent them from contacting her. 2 days later, on February 21st, Croy filed for divorce for the third time. This time, he filed in a different county, Cobb County, where Kim was now living. He said they now lived in separate residences and the relationship was over for good. Like before, he asked for child support and primary custody of all four kids. In March, Kim did an interview confirming she was dating someone new and was really happy about it. She'd moved into a new place and was starting fresh. But remember, the house they sold? Well, even though they found a buyer in February, they still hadn't actually moved out. In April, U.S. Marshals had to forcibly remove them from the house. 4 deputy marshals showed up and ejected them between 3:30 and 6:45 in the evening on April 8th. Kim said she'd already officially moved out in February, but apparently the new owners who bought the house had to start legal proceedings to get them out because the first few attempts went unanswered. Eventually, federal marshals had to intervene and physically remove them. In June 2025, a massive scandal broke that had everyone talking. Kim's daughter, Ariana,
What balls? So they were squatters.
now 23 years old, appeared on a reality show called Next Gen NYC. During the show, she dropped a bomb saying that her parents had taken money she'd earned from brand deals over the last 10 years. Ariana explained that she'd been doing sponsored posts on social media since she was 14. She said she was posting about 3 times a week and getting paid astronomical amounts for each post. But when she looked into her finances, the money was gone. She said nobody was honest with her. There was no transparency, and she had no idea where the money actually went. When she appeared on
Kim Z tried to be a Kim K. Not Kim K, Kris Kardashian.
Watch What Happens Live, she made it crystal clear that this wasn't just about her mom. She said everybody wanted to blame just Kim, but it was a joint partnership between both parents in taking the money. She gave her parents notice that she was going to tell her truth and her story. When asked if she knew exactly how much money they spent, she said no, and that she didn't really want to know. When Kim appeared on the same show in July, Andy Cohen asked her directly about the money. Kim's response was pretty blunt. She said the rug was pulled out from under the family and that Ariana's money was spent on bills. Just bills. No other explanation. Then in September, Kim's other daughter, Belle, who's 28, spoke about it on a podcast. She revealed that she didn't even know Kim and Croy were getting divorced until she read about it on TMZ. She said she was hit with a lot of harsh realities all at once. She talked about how one day she was buying a first-class flight to the Bahamas, and the next day she was told she had $0. She asked where all the money went and what happened. So both daughters had their money taken and spent by their parents during this financial crisis. The money that these young women earned through their own work on social media was used to try to keep the family afloat while Kim and Croy sank deeper into debt. In August 2025, Croy filed new documents asking for sole custody of their 4 young children. He claimed Kim was emotionally and psychologically abusive to them. He said that due to lack of structure and accountability in Kim's home, their shared custody arrangement wasn't good for the kids. Croy alleged that Kim frequently left the children alone or with other people for long periods without proper parental guidance. He accused her of being unstable and unfit as a parent, saying she subjected the kids to emotional and psychological abuse. He claimed she showed no familiarity with the children's needs and couldn't provide for their day-to-day care. He demanded the children be immediately placed in his primary care. Kim's representative hit back hard the same day. They said Croy's allegations were completely false, misleading, and deeply hurtful. The statement described Kim as a devoted, loving, and attentive mother who puts her children's needs above everything else. It said she'd been the primary emotional anchor.
If she did that from the get-go, they wouldn't be in debt. Because she still has all those designer bags and jewelry and cars and all this other shit, right? All through the years. And I don't see her trying to sell anything in order to make sure the family stays afloat.
For the kids through this difficult time, ensuring they had a stable home, healthy routines, and unconditional love. It mentioned she was consistently engaged in their schooling, activities, and therapy. The rep called Croy's filing a publicity stunt, claiming he rushed to file it unsealed after catching word that Kim was filing several motions that day. They pointed out that Kim files all her documents under seal to protect the children, not to manipulate headlines or public opinion. The statement said these accusations were just an attempt to misrepresent the truth and gain legal advantage. So, what were these motions Kim filed the same day? She accused Croy of interfering with her parenting time and alleged that his obsession with her led him to stalk her. She claimed he surveilled a third party's residence when she was there and followed her around doing mundane tasks like grocery shopping. The stalking was apparently so bad that lawyers for this third party sent a letter threatening to get a protective order if he didn't stop. Kim detailed a specific incident on June 9th where Croy followed her and this third party to Costco and proceeded to follow her around the store, even confronting the person who was with her. She said Croy's acts of surveilling, following, and harassing her were a dangerous violation of their temporary parenting plan. She asked that he be held in contempt of court, ordered to stay away from her home, and even suggested sanctions including jail time. She also wanted him to pay her legal fees. On October 10th, Croy made a long emotional post on social media that got everyone talking. He talked about feeling trapped in a relationship where he was gaslighted to the point of being suicidal. He wrote about wrestling with whether to post this for days, trying to find words to communicate years of confusion, pain, and survival. He described being trapped in something that looked like love, but felt like being slowly ripped apart. He said there was a time he didn't think he'd make it, that the pain was so constant, the gaslighting so relentless, that his soul was caving in. He felt trapped in deliberately orchestrated chaos, yet he was blamed for everything. Every word he said was twisted. Every effort was never enough. Eventually, he started believing he was the problem. Croy wrote about nights where he prayed for it all to stop, even if that meant he stopped existing. He said, when you've been broken down long enough, death can start to sound like peace, but he credited God with meeting him in that darkness and fighting for him when he didn't have the strength. He said God reminded him his life still had purpose, and his story wasn't over. The post was clearly about his marriage to Kim, even though he never mentioned her by name. The comment section filled up with support for Croy. People said they'd seen what was happening on TV and never thought he was the problem. Others praised him for being an amazing father and husband and told him to focus on himself and the kids while Karma took care of the rest. Now, looking at everything we've covered, the body cam footage, the legal documents, the back and forth accusations, it's pretty clear both of them have contributed to this toxic mess. But Croy's post painted him purely as a victim, which seems like only one side of a very complicated story. Just 6 days after that emotional social media post, Croy filed more legal documents on October 16th. This time, he accused Kim of failing to turn over documents and ignoring court orders by speaking publicly about the divorce. He claimed Kim was supposed to provide his legal team with pay slips, work contracts, bank statements, and credit card statements, but failed to do so. He also said there was a court order stating they couldn't speak publicly or on social media about their divorce. But he alleged that just 2 days after that order was signed, Kim went on a podcast and spoke about the split. On the podcast, Kim took shots at Croy, saying people always told her she spent all his money, but in reality, she'd made way more than him. She pointed out that his last NFL season was in 2015, it was now 2025. She said he only got
Now I'm going to look up her net worth back then. $8 million when they met. So he was like double her, but she claims she was the one who had more money. Mhm. The lies are easily checked out, and she'll still say, well, they're wrong. The facts are wrong.
a job in March 2024, and that he hadn't paid a bill in their house in years. Not even for clothes for the kids or their extracurricular activities. Nothing. She also
But if you were taking the money out of the account to do things like that, how can you say he wasn't when it was marital money paying for this stuff?
accused him of stealing every piece of jewelry she ever owned and 20 of her most expensive handbags. Kim also appeared on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and talked about the divorce there too, mentioning the children in both interviews. Croy claimed that Kim speaking about the children and divorce publicly showed her lack of ability to understand or provide for the best interests of the kids. He said these actions put her in contempt of court and were directly harmful to the children and their well being. Here's the thing though, Croy filed this document complaining about Kim speaking publicly just 6 days after he made that long, emotional social media post about their relationship and her treatment of him. That seems pretty hypocritical, right? He's calling her out for talking about the divorce publicly, while he literally just did the same thing less than a week earlier. It's
Yeah, in response to her. Yeah, it is hypocritical, but it's in response to what she did prior.
hard to see how a judge would take that seriously. Remember that third party Croy was allegedly stalking? Well, that was Kim's new boyfriend. After Kim mentioned in March that she was dating someone new, things stayed quiet about her love life for a while. Then in July, on Watch What Happens Live, she opened up a bit more. She said she'd sat in the house working and trying to take care of everything for 20 months before finally meeting somebody great. When asked how they met, she said through a friend. Check Tamaz. October, US Weekly revealed Kim had been dating a man named Kyle Moots. Sources said they started seeing each other around April or May 2025, after both had filed for their own divorces. They were
I want to see how much this guy's net worth is. Okay, it's Kyle Mowitz. It seems like it might be $100 million. Any wonder why she's dating him?
Were very happy together and getting serious quickly, even though they were both still going through their divorce battles and living separately. But this new relationship dragged Kim into even more legal drama. Kyle was going through his own divorce from his estranged wife, Jillian Green, and it was a massive $100 million lawsuit. On September 30th, court documents showed that Kim was served with a subpoena outside her child's school. This was months after she'd asked for a confidentiality agreement from Jillian's legal team to protect her children from media attention. The subpoena demanded that Kim appear for a deposition in Jillian's divorce case against Kyle. Kim's lawyer immediately fought back, calling the subpoena unreasonable, oppressive, and intended to annoy and embarrass her. The subpoena asked Kim to turn over all her communications with Kyle, plus any communications between her and anyone else that discussed Kyle, his ex Jillian, their children, the divorce, or payment for services. Most notably, the filing asked for any and all documents about Kim's financial relationship with Kyle. This included gifts given or received, expenses Kyle paid for Kim, money he loaned her, or money paid to her by Kyle or any of his businesses. They were basically trying to prove that Kyle was supporting Kim financially during his divorce. So why did Jillian subpoena Kim? Because of Croy. In a June deposition, Jillian revealed that Croy had reached out to her to warn her about Kim. He allegedly told her that Kim would drain money from Kyle. To back up his claims, he told her that Kim had charged groceries from Instacart onto Kyle's credit card. Jillian testified.
Yeah, of course, just like with her boyfriend before and all this other stuff. I want to see what this woman looks like. Oh, because it was getting to me. Why would Kim go from the brassy blonde to dark brown? Okay, let's see if I can do both. Okay, it looks like I'm gonna have to try doing it this way. Kim Zolciak um went from the brassy blonde to the brown. This is what showed up in a Google search. Now that's what a Google search showed me. I couldn't understand because she looks so old with the darker hair. But now we see why.
That Croy warned her about Kim's mental state, calling her a narcissist with a gambling problem who was never around for her children. These are the same accusations he'd been making in his own divorce filings. She also said Croy told her he'd sat outside Kyle's house, which supported Kim's claims that Croy was stalking her and this third party. According to Jillian's deposition, she met up with Croy once at her cousin's house, but they hadn't spoken in months since then. She insisted she and Croy had never been romantically involved. They were just two people comparing notes about their difficult spouses. After this news broke in October, Kim couldn't keep the relationship hidden anymore. She posted a Q&A on Instagram on October 22nd, where she answered questions about the romance. When asked if she was dating anyone, she said yes, explaining that almost 2 years after filing for divorce, she went on her first date and they'd been together ever since. When someone asked if it was hard letting herself be vulnerable with a new man, she said yes, but added that Kyle went through the exact same situation, so they identified with each other. Their shared experience of toxic divorces actually brought them together. Someone also asked Kim's opinion on Kroy's recent abuse allegations and his Instagram post about feeling trapped. Kim's response was simple and direct. She said it was unbelievable and not true. In another response, someone praised Kim for her resilience over the last 15 years. She thanked them and said it had been a very long, painful, hard, and sad road, but it was the best decision for her. She said she finally chose herself and her kids. So here we are, over 2.5 years after that first divorce filing in May 2023, and this mess is still ongoing. The house has been sold, they've been forcibly evicted. Kim has moved into a new place and is dating someone new. Kroy is living separately with the kids at least part of the time. But the divorce still isn't finalized. They've filed for divorce 3 separate times now. They've accused each other of drug use, gambling addiction, mental illness, narcissism, abuse, stalking, theft, and child neglect. They've called police to their home multiple times. They've spent their daughter's money trying to stay afloat financially. They owe nearly $2 million in debt. And now Kim's been dragged into someone else's $100 million divorce because her ex-husband decided to contact her new boyfriend's estranged wife to trash talk her. The back and forth accusations make it hard to know what's really true. Is Kroy actually using drugs? Or is that just Kim trying to paint him as an unfit parent? Does Kim really have a gambling addiction? Or is Kroy making that up to gain custody? Did he really steal her jewelry and handbags? Or were those marital assets? Is he actually stalking her, or is she exaggerating? Did she really spend their daughter's money carelessly, or were they in such desperate financial straits that they had no choice? Based on the body cam footage we've seen, both of them seem to be struggling and contributing to the toxic environment. Kroy is shown screaming at Kim in the driveway, calling her names. Kim admits they're fighting constantly, and one day she wants divorce, and the next day she doesn't. They're both clearly in pain, both clearly angry, and both clearly unable to separate cleanly. The fact that they tried to reconcile twice, that they were sleeping together while filing for divorce, that they lived under the same roof for years while going through this legal battle, all suggests that neither of them could fully let go even when they knew the relationship was destroying them both. The financial pressure clearly accelerated everything.
The judge ordered them to live under the same roof, just in different ends of the house. So the person reporting this really does need to get some of the facts straight. You can't say one thing and not another. They were ordered by a judge to do that.
When you're nearly $2 million in debt, when you're facing foreclosure, when the IRS is coming after you, when you have to spend your kids' money just to keep the lights on, that stress breaks people. It breaks marriages, and it clearly broke theirs. Their inability to resolve this divorce for over 2 years, with 3 separate filings and multiple reconciliation attempts, shows how complicated and messy real-life divorces can be. It's not like the movies where people sign papers and move on. This is 2 people who built a life together, had 6 kids between them, bought a massive house they couldn't afford, tried to maintain a lifestyle that was unsustainable, and then imploded in the most public and painful way possible. The children are the real victims here. 4 young kids watching their parents scream at each other, having police show up at their house, seeing their parents on social media fighting, knowing that their personal lives are being discussed in legal documents and tabloids. That's the true tragedy of this whole situation. And now, with Kim in a new relationship that's already causing legal problems, and Kroy reaching out to her boyfriend's estranged wife to share negative information about her, it's clear the drama isn't ending anytime soon. Even though they're no longer together, they're still finding ways to hurt each other and drag other people into their mess. As for who's telling the truth, that's probably somewhere in the middle. Most toxic relationships don't have a clear villain and hero. Usually it's 2 people who bring out the worst in each other, who can't communicate effectively, who hurt each other repeatedly, and who both bear responsibility for the breakdown. From everything we've seen, it appears both Kim and Kroy have valid grievances, and both have done things that hurt their family. The drug allegations, the gambling claims, the stalking accusations, the theft allegations, the abuse claims. Some of these are probably exaggerated, some might be completely fabricated, and some are likely based in truth but missing important context. What we do know for certain is that this marriage was broken long before they filed for divorce. The financial problems were overwhelming, the stress was unbearable, and instead of finding a way to separate peacefully for the sake of their children, they've chosen to wage war in the courts and in public for over 2 years. Following Kroy's most recent filing complaining about Kim speaking publicly, we're still waiting to see Kim's legal response. But one thing is clear, this divorce battle is far from over, with shared custody arrangements still being fought over, with accusations still flying, with Kroy posting on social media and Kim doing podcast interviews, and with Kim now tangled up in another messy divorce through her new relationship. The drama will almost certainly continue. The question now is whether they'll ever be able to put their anger aside long enough to finalize this divorce and move on with their lives. For the sake of their children, hopefully they can. But based on the last 2.5 years, that seems unlikely to happen anytime soon. One of the saddest parts is that they clearly did love each other at some point. They renewed their vows after 7 years of marriage. They built a family together. They went through the process of Kroy adopting Kim's older daughters. But somewhere between the financial stress, the personality clashes, and the inability to communicate constructively, that love turned into something toxic and destructive. This case serves as a reminder that money problems can destroy even seemingly strong relationships, that pride and anger can make people do things that hurt everyone involved, especially children, and that sometimes the worst thing two people can do is refuse to let go when a relationship is clearly over. As of right now, Kim is trying to move forward with her new relationship and her new home. Kroy is fighting for primary custody of their children and trying to paint himself as the victim of an abusive marriage. Their daughters are speaking out about their money being taken, and the legal bills keep piling up on top of the millions they already owe. This is a cautionary tale about lifestyle inflation, financial mismanagement, and what happens when two people would rather destroy each other than find a peaceful resolution. It's about the danger of keeping up appearances when you're drowning in debt. And it's about how social media and public statements can pour gasoline on an already raging fire. Whether you believe Kim's version of events or Kroy's version, or think the truth is somewhere in between, one thing is undeniable. This is one of the most toxic, drawn-out, and financially devastating celebrity divorces we've seen in years. And unless something changes dramatically, it's going to keep getting worse before it gets better. The real question is, when will they finally realize that continuing this war is only hurting themselves and their children? When will they decide that peace is more important than being right? When will they choose to co-parent effectively instead of using the kids as weapons against each other? For now, we'll have to wait and see what happens next. But based on everything that's happened so far, it's safe to say this story is far from over. The divorce that started in May 2023 is still grinding on, destroying everything in its path, and showing no signs of reaching a resolution anytime soon. That's the truth behind Kim's divorce. It's a perfect storm of financial disaster, personal animosity, legal warfare, and public humiliation that has consumed 2 years of their lives and shows no sign of ending. And the saddest part, 4 innocent children are watching it all unfold.
And there you go. They really need to do something. I bet you if Kroy won the lottery, all this would stop and she'd be like, oh, he's the love of my life. But he'd have to have more than $100 million at this point. Or maybe not, because they're still married, so she could easily get her hands on that money. Whatever, the drama's going to continue.